Hello, hello, hello. Hey there, fam. Welcome to You Plant, We Water. Here in this corner of the world, we are focused on combining and thinking about our faith, spirituality, and mental health so that we can have the fulfilling, gratifying, mind blowing relationships that God has called us to. I am your host, Dr. Toya Flowers, licensed professional counselor with a specialization in couples and family counseling, as well as a professor at a university teaching counseling. And I, as always, am thrilled to welcome my distinguished co host.
Hi, I'm Trisha Flowers. I am a lifestyle coach and a minister. We're so thankful for everyone watching.
So, we are so happy to have you all here on today. As promised, depending on when you watch this, but this is being recorded at the first of the month, the beginning of June to be specific. And why is that important? Because we are finally going to launch our Faith Over Fear 90-day challenge. So today's episode will be dedicated just to talking a little bit more about the challenge. You'll be able to sign up and join the community on our Facebook page, You Plant, We Water. Likewise, there'll be some resources there for you to help you during this time, during the 90-day challenge. But we really want to do this together as a community, and we really want to track our progress. We want to see where you're starting, and then we can't wait to hear the testimonies 90 days from now about how God has done a mighty work in your life. Because faith over fear, no, He will. So I'm going to start with scripture. Okay. I'm going to start by reading 2 Timothy 1-7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and discipline. That's the New American Standard Version. So that's probably not what you heard. I think King James was a sound mind, right? But you know what I mean. He hasn't given us a spirit of fear. Okay. And then secondly, I'm going to share. Now I can't see. Bear with me, Lord. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be afraid, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, and I will also help you. I will also uphold you with my righteous right hand. Isaiah 41:10. All right, so we're going to start there, getting our mindset right. Then we figure we'll just talk a little bit about why are we doing the challenge, share some personal testimonies about how God has moved in our lives when we have been successful at activating our faith over our fear. And then we'll share a little bit more details from there. So, Trish, faith over fear, right? What immediately comes to mind? I know we've been talking about it on some other episodes, but we're finally here. So, when you hear faith over fear, what comes to mind for you?
Making sure that you don't allow your anxiety to take over, because fear, ultimately, in my opinion, is anxiety, right? Because you don't know what's about to happen. And so you're overthinking, you're over processing. And that's what comes to my mind.
Well said. Fear definitely can be anxiety. And to honestly, to take anxiety and make it a layman's term, that's literally what it is, worry, right? Uh, in the counseling field, the two most common issues we see in counseling are anxiety and depression, right? And what's interesting is they're two sides of the same coin, right? So depression is when our mind, our thoughts are over focused on what's happened in the past. And anxiety is when our thoughts or our mind is over focused on what might happen in the future.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Good evening.
Yes.
So, and that's the thing for me personally. I never have really had depression, even though I should have. I tend to have more struggles with being anxious, right? So anticipating waking up in a cold sweat and nothing's happened. And so those are the things that I typically struggle with. And so for me, it's just being present and making sure I'm around people that can help me with that. Because the other thing that I found out is if you're in a place where people around you are also in that, like you guys are feeding off of each other, and I'm encouraging you to be crazy and you're encouraging me. And so if you can get around people that are grounded or secure, it helps. It helps to regulate you too, because they're going to talk you down like, well, maybe you're going too far. You haven't even went in for anything yet. So real
Very
example.
true. Very true, right? And we've talked about this in previous episodes, the importance of one, what we say to ourselves and others. We've talked about our physical makeup, our body chemistry, and that is predominantly water. And we've seen what happens to water crystals when we speak positivity versus negativity. So we know that what we say, even in your mind, it affects your whole being. So your self-talk, right, is important. The word says, as a man speaketh, so he is, right? So that includes what you say to yourself in your mind. And to your point, who you are around. Energy is a real thing and it is contagious. One of our viewers, and I was going to save this until I could get the visuals, but I'm so excited. One of our viewers shared that when it comes to energy, one way you can really see the effects of energy is when you use tuning forks that they use for music. When you take two tuning forks and you have one that's already doing a thing, you bring another one out that's not, it will begin to move as well, which is showing you that that energy that we can't see is real and it exists. So we'll have a visual during the 90-day challenge, I'm sure. But just thinking about that, to your point, who you surround yourself with makes a huge difference. And it's funny. Somebody came up to me in Dunkin' Donuts last week, right? And was just saying that I had I forget, I think he was saying I seemed like a very happy or loving person. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. And then he said, you got to be careful who you surround. No, what did he say? I forget. Who you give your energy to or your attention. And I was like, true, right? Like, so it was a prophetic on time word. So that's going to be incredibly important during the 90-day challenge. Real story about how fear can be an energy and contagious. Even if they're not fearful, if they're negative, it will make it hard for you. So you might want to distance yourself from those type of people during this time. But real thing about fear, right? And how it's contagious. What we know is that children can adopt fears of their parents, right? Real life example. Our mom is, I don't know if she still is, but she used to be very afraid of mice, right? And I also am very afraid of mice because you're watching your parent who you think is like super person and you see them scared of something that they ain't never scared. Now you scared, right? And I don't know, maybe my kids are too, but it reminds me of like when you see a video or something. I love this about Black people in particular. When one person runs, everybody runs. You don't wait to ask questions. You don't know why you're scared. You just know I have to run because everybody else is running. So that's what I want to say about that point.
An example of that is we had a hamster in our house that seemed like a mouse.
Boy.
And the mouse hamster was going to get to live there rent free because everybody was so terrified and calling it a he that our neighbors thought that a person had gotten into the house. And so when the police came, they were like, where's the person? Who's the apprehension? What should we do? Da, da, da. And we're like, oh, it's a mouse. And so the guy's like, this is not a mouse. This is a hamster. Can I bring it? And her mom was like, uh, if you like to. So they caught it. Somebody got a treat, a pet, or whatever it was. But we were like, we got to leave now.
Terrified. And to that point, years later, as an adult, a fully grown woman, I sold a house because I saw a mouse. A house that I lived in. When I saw that mouse, it was like, it's time to put it on the market. I'm moving. I've gotten better since then, but
I'm not.
I keep selling houses. This mouse gotta go. It's me and you, mouse. No, but having said that, it's just saying we don't want to minimize fear. It's a real thing. Good evening. Thank you so much for tuning in from My Vision, My Journey. So glad to have you here. But again, as I was saying, fear can be crippling, debilitating, right? The whole point, every emotion, which fear is an emotion, right? Every emotion was designed by God for a reason, right? And it had to do with survival during different times when weren't so high tech with all this kind of technology and things like that. You know, if a wild animal was coming at you, you need to immediately, without thought, you needed to have fear and anger so that you could fight, flight, or run, flight, freeze. Fight, flight, which means run, or freeze, whichever would help to save your life. And so all emotions serve a purpose. Now, in this modern time, what happens is your body, your mind doesn't know the difference between the fear you feel because a wild animal is coming at you and the fear you feel because, I don't know, you're going to be on your own for the first time. Your mind and body don't know the difference. All the same, there's stress hormones called cortisol. All of those same hormones are emitted, except there's no release. With a wild animal, there was a release because you fought, you did something. With that fear that you just have of it's just stuck in there. And that is what damages is causing all kinds of diseases, from hypertension, diabetes, high blood, you name it, right? So this isn't just about our mental health. This is also about our physical health, but most importantly, it's about our spiritual well-being and our relationship with God. Because as we started, He has not given us a spirit of fear, and He's with us, so we have no reason to fear. All right. So we thought, like I said, we'd share a story or two of our own personally of a time when we know that we have overcome fear with faith and had a success. And we're doing this for a reason. And I'll tell you the reason. Remind me to tell y'all the reason after, because I might forget. But you want to go ahead, Trish?
So I am dyslexic. And I was diagnosed with dyslexia in fourth grade. And the dyslexia that I received, the diagnosis from that, created anxiety for me because I knew something was different. I wasn't quite sure. I would try to learn the ABCs. I would forget the ABCs. I would get punished, all kind of things. And it was the diagnosis that kind of changed my life and was a blessing in disguise. So with that being said, in high school, a guidance counselor told me, you won't do anything but work at Walmart. And so I was like, oh. And so our mom was like, no, you're going to college. And I was like, oh my God, my phone is ringing.
That's the enemy. Get out of here. She's going to tell a story.
So I was, that was in my mind. And I, ended up being a barber and not going away to college. And it took me some time. So I wasn't a traditional student, so I didn't go right away. However, once I went away to school, which again, remember, I didn't take the traditional route. I was very successful. I went on to get my bachelor's. I went on to get my master's, a couple of them, just so that. And I recognized from my sister that because I have the dyslexia label on, I have other areas that I excel in, which are not necessarily things that are in school that you understand. So like my emotional intelligence and picking up on people's
Mhm.
patterns is impeccable. I can pretty much tell you what somebody is about to do based off of observing them. Now, that's not a skill that you get in school, but the point is the fear of me feeling like I wasn't enough, I wasn't going to be able to do this, I wasn't
Mindset.
going to do whatever because I was so anxious, but I did. And I've continued. And so a lot of people were like, well, you don't even look like somebody that's dyslexic. And I find that a little offensive because oh, I don't know what that looks like or what it may seem. But for me, I make sure that I tell people that because I am a neurodivergent person, right? So I don't see the world the same, but that has been the gift. I don't see the world the same, and it's intentional because that's the way God designed me. So there are areas where I'm able to communicate or tell you things that you may or may not have known about yourself because I'm watching you very closely to see who you are. And so, with that, that's the faith over fear. I was going to allow fear to tell me, you're not going to school. And
Mhm.
what if I would have just stayed at Walmart? So, my life would have took a total different trajectory had that not had I listened to what someone told me. And that's another thing with fear. It may not even be yourself. You may be listening, which is what we talked about earlier. You may be listening to other people. That's them. That has nothing to do with you. Keep doing you, keep moving, keep doing all of the things that God has designed you to do.
Come on.
It may not be traditional, but it definitely isn't less. That's my testimony.
Love it. And there's so much in that, right? Like that fear, if we think about it as a thing, we call that giving it I forgot the name, but basically like an object, right? Animating it. That fear, when working with kids, sometimes we call it a fear or worry monster, almost try to derail you from who you were meant to be. And that's how the enemy works, right? He's the father of lies. And so, whatever your purpose is, if he can get you off of that, he's won the battle. So, beautiful testimony. And can I can affirm, give it the seal of approval that it is 100% true and facts. And what she didn't say, which is even more powerful, is her experience then transfer her conquering her faith over fear, then transcended into the next generation, our children who had similar challenges. Because I have a son with a disability, and about the same time, he was told, I think what was it, fifth grade, and we had a teacher say he'll never make it in middle school, not even high school. She was like, he's never going to make it in middle school. And right that day, like the devil is a lie. I'm like, yes, he will. And I think that very next year he was student of the month, all these things, and we were able to come back like bam. But had we not had those experiences, had I not seen you go through your struggle, had I not seen mom and how she supported, so what I'm trying to say to you all is this is even bigger than you. You can put, and this is a part of the work that I do as a couple and family counselor, you can set your family on a new trajectory, a new path for generations to come, right? And that's a biblical principle, right? That and it's real. So do this for you and for those who will follow and those who are watching. I'm sure their little eyes watching, right? So having said that, my own faith over fear success, right? And as I begin to share this, I want to let you know, like, we're not sitting up here sharing in a mindset of like we never have fear anymore. Quite the opposite. This challenge was birthed out of God speaking to me because of my own present day anxiety and worries. But having said that, past success, right? So it's kind of like the flip end somehow, in some way.
We always do have
but
that.
we
We do.
so I've always just been really good in school. Like most of my school years, I gave no effort. Right? Like I didn't study, I didn't do anything, and I could just pick up on school book learning just quickly, right? As I progressed in school, I had to learn to start doing some studying, but honestly, even in college, it was very minimal. It just came to me. And so, we all figure out what do I want to do, who I want to be, that kind of thing. And I had decided early on in college, maybe like 20 something, that I was going to go to graduate school, which was something that nobody at that point had done in my family. And I received advice not to do that, right? Not to become a career student, but get out there, join the work world. And I thought, well, okay, maybe that's right. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I am just prolonging the inevitable. So I did that. Uh, had a decent career, but 20 years later, after the sudden death of our father, I began to ask myself a couple of questions, right? One, I knew I have to live a full life. I have to live each day to the fullest because tomorrow's not promised. And I started to ask myself, okay, what is it that I truly love? What is it the work that I'm called to do? And I was Googling stuff. I'm a researcher, y'all. Before I even knew I was going to be a doctor, I was always researching. I started searching, and they said, ask yourself, what would you do for free? So I thought about it and I was like, oh, for free, I would help people live their best life and chill on the beach. Right. So that led me to going back to school to become a counselor. Even though I was at the big age, right? I was not young by any stretch of the imagination. I had one child who was, I think, 6. I had maybe he was 7. I had another child who was like a year and a half, 2, all the things. And I was, I'm not gonna tell y'all how, no, 9. Let's just say I was at a big age. Okay. Okay, now I want to go back to school to be a counselor because I knew that would help people live their best life. I still didn't know how I was going to get paid to be on the beach, but that happened too. But anywho, so I get to school. It's hard for the first time. I haven't been in school in 20 years. I'm struggling. I'm like, oh my goodness, maybe I'm not smart. Like maybe this isn't for me. I had a professor who did not like me at all. So I went in, I'm talking to him. I'm like, hey, what's the deal? I'm used to being an A student. He's like, well, you ain't gonna be no more. All those kind of things. Long story short, stayed the course, exercised my faith over fear. That professor I ended up being one of his favorite students of all time. He made me president of a student club. That led to me getting a job offer to become a professor, even though I only had a master's degree and everybody else required a doctorate. Like I was able to do things that everyone said nobody could do that. Nobody's ever did that. Nobody who only has a master's degree teaches the graduate counseling classes. But there I was, right? So not only did it show me that I was meant to be a counselor, but that love of learning, I was meant to be a professor. Like academia was my jam. That's where I was meant to be. So, to the point that we're saying, a lot of times, fear, the naysayers, all of those things will take you off of the course that God is giving you. And had I not gone back to school, taught, became a professor, did all these things, this show wouldn't be happening right now. And each and every one of us who are going to join in this 90-day Faith Over Fear Challenge wouldn't be doing it together. Right. So stay the course. We can do this. Let's see. All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what you can expect. But to join, you will need to visit the Facebook page entitled You Plant, We Water. There you can sign up. We'll create a community where we can kind of encourage each other during this time. And like I said, we'll have resources. But I'm going to break it into 3 chunks, right? So the first chunk, we're going to be exercising our faith and thinking about, I love this because you talked about it a little bit, mindfulness and self-awareness. That's right. I told you I would tell y'all why we're sharing our stories. One mental health strategy or technique to accomplish something and face fear is to think about all of the fears and obstacles you've accomplished in the past. And you look at when you were successful in the past and you figure out, how did I do it? And how can I take that and apply it to what's going on now? So that's why we shared. All right. So we'll be having you thinking about those types of things as well. When were you successful in the past? When did you overcome something in the past? How can you do more of that? But we're going to think about some mindfulness and self-awareness. We're going to be giving you all morning affirmations that are based on faith, sort of like the scriptures that we've shared today. We're going to encourage journaling, gratitude, prayers, all the things. That second chunk, we're going to go hard. By then, we're ready. We consider the first one our warm-up. By this middle, we're ready. We're going hard and we're building that faith. Like we're going in. We're going to do heavy scriptures and readings, faith building activities. We're going to lean on each other because iron sharpens iron. Talk about some visual reminders, all those things. And then to close it out, we're going to put that faith into action because faith without works is dead. And so that last section is going to be about setting a goal, choosing a fear, and writing it out day by day. How are you going to overcome that and get to where you know God has called you to be? And then we're going to celebrate, y'all. Right? We're gonna do the thing. So that is a little bit about the Faith Over Fear Challenge that is coming. And again, please do visit us at You Plant, We Water so you can be a part of it. Should you see this broadcast and it's well after the beginning of June, it doesn't matter. You can still join us. You can begin the 90-day challenge at any point. Your clock, your timer will start whenever it is that you begin, if that makes sense. We don't all have to end or start at the same time. So whenever you see this on whatever platform you see it, please visit us to get that information because me personally, I'm excited to see what God is going to do, not only in my life, but in all of our lives as we, take that big leap of faith. Any
I would
additional
also
thoughts?
say, make sure that you tell us your testimony. So this is happening in June of 2025. You may see this in June of 2029. The point is, it's an on-time word, right? So we want to hear the reports after as well. So wherever you're logging in at or viewing us at, make sure that you put that so we can know, because it helps assure us. That's one of the things that I asked my sister to do because some of the gifts that I have are super spiritual. And I always ask her to confirm what I'm saying. And so that's my little tagline that I probably should say. If I'm not telling you the truth and it doesn't happen, let me know because I'm telling you most of the time I'm on point. So just make sure that you tell us so that helps me and her, more so for me, to know that what we're doing is where God is leading you to be.
Yes. And you sharing your progress with us will be shared with other people, which again is going to encourage. Because I'm gonna tell you this, y'all, because I've been doing it I've been going before you in doing this. And what happens when you are trying to make a positive change? It's a bell curve, is what they've traced this thing. And why is it a bell curve? Because you start off down here, you thought you had a fear. The more you get ready and start strengthening yourself, that thing's gonna ramp up. See if you'll quit. Don't quit. When you're right here at the top of that bell curve, stay the course, and then it'll be smoother sailing from there. So stay with us. You can do this. So I love that you stress that. And it's not just your progress at the end. We're going to celebrate every small step, right? So you can just let us know today was a good day. And you can let us know when it's not a good day because we're here for all of it. It's all a part of the journey and all a part of the process. So having said that, I'm going to close out with a few little tidbits. One, something that I have neglected to share on all the shows is if you are in need of counseling or therapy, as I stated at the beginning, I am a licensed professional counselor. Please do contact me. I may be able to work with you personally. If I do not have enough availability to work with you personally, I will refer you to someone whom I know personally and would trust with my own mental health counseling. And so to reach me, you can send a message. You can private DM. You can privately DM on You Plant We Water, the Facebook page. You can also look me up. I am working at Hope and Prosper Counseling. There you can take a look at my professional bio and things like that, and you can initiate therapy that way. So that's important. I wanted to make sure you all knew that. Relatedly, there are retreats coming, y'all. There are some couples retreats in the works, and we're even considering doing something with this challenge that'll be another retreat. Let's see. Anything else I want to share?
She's very humble. You're not going to find someone like her unless she refers them out, and then they would be similar. I'm just throwing that out there because we can be very humble and not making sure that you understand that you are getting the top of the line care for your mental health as well as your spiritual health. So just know that and know that we genuinely are trying to pour into you.
Well said, right? Like I've been doing this while I've presented I've presented in London, at Oxford. I've done all the things, especially if you're looking for some of couples. I am your person. So having said that, we want to thank you for tuning in. We want to thank our executive producer, Bishop Lloyd Kohler Jr., Senior Pastor of Mission Covenant Church in Blue Island. And we want to remind you, as always, that you plant, we water.